Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to tackle a question that, well, it might feel a little weird to even ask. Is science wrong? We're going to dig into a really fascinating idea that challenges the very objectivity of our most trusted tool for understanding the universe, the scientific method itself.
We usually think of it that way, don't we? Science is supposed to be our perfect window onto the world, the one tool that lets us strip away all our biases and just see things as they really are. And look, it's given us everything from modern medicine to space travel, but is that window perfectly clear?
Or, and here's the twist, what if when we look through that scientific window, we're not just seeing the universe, but we're also seeing a reflection of our own minds, our own assumptions baked right in? And that is the wild possibility we're exploring today.
For hundreds of years, the deal has been pretty simple. We put our faith in the scientific method because it promises objective truth. You design an experiment, you measure what happens, and boom, you've uncovered a little piece of how the universe works. It feels solid, reliable, and most importantly, totally separate from us, the observers.
Okay, so the whole argument here really boils down to this one tiny thing we do. A hidden step that happens before any experiment even begins. It's the simple act of, well, drawing a line in the sand. And that action has a name: making a distinction. You see, to study anything at all, you first have to define what it is. You've got to separate it in your mind from everything else that it isn't. Now that sounds super obvious, right? But stick with me, because this first step is everything.
Think about it like this. In any experiment, we draw a line. On one side of that line, you've got your gear, your beakers, the concepts you're testing, the whole shebang. And on the other side, literally, everything else, the entire rest of the universe. We have to make that separation just to get anything done. And this is where it gets really interesting, because that simple act of drawing lines brings up a huge question. Who's drawing them? We are, humans. And that means the very foundation of every experiment we run is built on a choice, a subjective human choice.
Okay, so let's just connect the dots here step by step. 1. All science relies on making these distinctions. 2. We as humans are the ones creating them, which leads us to 3. Therefore, what science is actually testing isn't some pure objective reality, it's a human perspective of reality.
And that leads us to a pretty mind-blowing realization. For the scientific method to be a truly perfect window, it would mean that the universe itself just happens to be naturally carved up along the exact same lines that we humans choose to draw. That is a massive, massive assumption. So, what if it isn't? Well, you know what? We might already have proof that nature doesn't play by our rules. There's a whole field of science where our neat, tidy categories just fall apart, where reality seems to actively resist being put into a box. Yep, I'm talking about quantum mechanics.
Because when you get down to the quantum level, all bets are off. Things can be a particle and a wave at the exact same time. Their properties aren't even real until we try to measure them. The simple act of us looking, of us trying to draw our little line, actually changes the outcome. The clean distinctions we try to force onto the world, they just don't stick down there.
And there's this quote that it hits the nail on the head. When we push our methods down to the very smallest scales, all the certainty disappears. All we're left with are probabilities, just chances. We can't say this is, we can only say this might be. It's like nature itself is protesting, pushing back and saying, nope, you can't put me in that box.
So, where does this all leave us? It's a pretty humbling thought, right? If our fundamental way of looking at the universe has limits, and we're starting to see the cracks, then what's next? The conclusion here is pretty stark. The human perspective, the way of thinking that has served us so well and built our entire modern world, well, it might just be hitting a wall. To get to the deeper truths, we might need more than just a better microscope.
And then you get to this quote, which is, wow, it's really something. It suggests that every great scientific theory we've ever had, from Newton's laws to Einstein's relativity, has been, at best, a really useful approximation based on our limited, human-made distinctions. Incredibly effective, for sure. But fundamentally right? Maybe? Not so much.
Okay, and this part is super important. This is not about tearing down science. It's actually the complete opposite. It's a call for science to take the next big step, to evolve. Realizing that we have a limited point of view is the first step. The next one is to start looking for a way to see beyond it. And that, of course, leaves us with one last massive mind-bending question to chew on. If the lines we draw to make sense of the world are really just our own invention, then what kind of reality is out there, beyond our definitions? And how could we ever even begin to see it? Thanks for digging into this with us.